And welcome back to the episode of Geek Centurions. Me, boy, I.
Be Joe.
And it's a new year, new episode, and yes, we are back. What have we been up? What have you been up to since last time we were here? Playing any new games? Watching anything new?
Um,
Hopped on that Marvel Rivals?
yeah, finished the battle. Well, no, I technically did not finish the battle pass. I think it has like the last little
Yeah.
graphic thing. I don't know what it's for, but
Mm-hmm.
I have everything else probably unlocked. I might just buy it to get the skins, but
I don't even know if I have anything. I've been playing it too. I just been doing quick play and competitive. But no, yeah, I've been having fun with the game. It's a really good game.
yeah,
Sonic 3 was cool. A lot of cool stuff happened between here and then.
yeah.
Yeah.
But we're not talking about that stuff today. We're
No,
talking
no,
about
no,
something
no.
that you noticed some big announcements from a certain movie
Yeah,
studio.
yeah. Sony, our lovable studio.
There's a lot of lovables. I don't think you meant any of that though.
No, I didn't. There's only one reason I would. There was a reason why it went from high to low.
Okay. Yeah, so new movies coming out from Sony, but what's interesting about these movies were that a lot of them are going to be adaptations of video games, right?
Yeah, and that kind of brings into a lot of stuff that concerns me about Sony, especially because you also got to remember it wasn't that long ago we had certain news about a certain other aspect of their film division, and I think we'll be mentioning that because it was a big news comment.
Yeah.
The,
But
yeah, I'll let you go ahead.
yeah, no, but I mean, I guess in terms of that sort of side of things, obviously, if you, I guess you know, Sony is a large company. They make technology, right? They make PlayStation. They have their own movie studio, too, Sony
Mm-hmm.
Pictures, right? Um, And I think the thing you're talking about is more of the I guess the cancellation of their Spider-Man movies, not the Tom Holland movies, not the
No, no,
Spider-Verse
no,
movies. They're
no.
like this weird like Spider-Man
I'm
movie
yeah, cause
without Spider-Man.
like putting on my little conspiracy tinfoil hat on real quick. An item I've almost never used. Um, I've this this coming like at least a couple of weeks, days, if you want to be more hyperbolic. After the announcement of like shutting down their villain centered movies, and like I think it was like one of the executives being like, "Well, I thought they were pretty okay."
Yeah, and I don't know if it was like the CEO or one of the top. Yeah, it was like
It was someone of note worthy.
yeah, like I don't know, maybe the president of Sony Pictures that was like on the record saying like these movies were good movies, but they were trashed by critics, and that's why they did bad, which is a stretch. It's a bit of a one of those sour loser, sore loser kind of things of like,
Mhm.
listen, man, the only movies that made money from this whole project were the Venom movies, and that's because Venom people like Venom, and he could work well on his own. The rest of the, you know, everything
You
else
made a
was
Morbius movie.
yeah, which I think I've mentioned before. I thought it was a dumb idea. I would never watch it because
He
it's just
still hasn't watched it. I've known this man for long. When he says he's not gonna watch it, he's not gonna watch it. I have to force him to watch things.
yeah. I mean, listen, it's a dumb movie. It's a dumb promise. It's you know dumb concept. I was just like, no, I'm not gonna watch that. Looks dumb, and I was right. It was memed upon to the point where the internet was like, oh yeah, it's gonna make a more $1 billion, and Sony thought it meant people liked it, so they put it back in theaters, and it made less money than its initial run.
I've only seen. I've always said this funny thing about Morbius, and we'll get back on topic. Don't worry. Um, I've only ever seen a little bit on a plane ride back back home, where someone was watching it on like on like one of those like airplane movie stuff, and I'm just like not paying attention. It's not even on my screen. I just like happen to look across, and I'm like, wow, that is horrible. I'm glad I didn't watch that movie.
Yeah, but I mean, obviously, as well, Madam Web, I think, came out last year too,
Oh
right? Or
yeah. Oh.
bad, just fell flat on its face, and obviously, Craven as well came out last year
I
too.
was kind of rooting for Craven.
I was ambivalent because again, I'm like, okay, so Craven, the guy who hunts things, his whole bit is hunting Spider-Man because he's like the ultimate prey. Is not gonna be facing Spider-Man in this movie, and his sort of an anti-hero. I mean, I can kind of see that, but it's like,
Yeah.
it's like, come
Look,
on.
you can make Craven cool, good, maybe, I don't know. But we're hanging on too much on this story for too long. Let's jump on to the next one. But it kind of does feel like this is a uh, a response to that in a way, because what is Sony mostly known for right now? It's probably not their film division; it's their gaming division.
It's PlayStation. It's PlayStation. I feel is sort of when you hear Sony, you think of PlayStation. That is their bread and butter at this point. It's
Mhm.
probably their most profitable arm in their company at this point.
Oh yeah.
But as to what you mentioned earlier, the movie announcements that Sony Pictures made was more of adapting various properties owned by PlayStation, right? Horizon Zero Dawn getting a movie development, a Helldivers 2 movie being developed, and there's also I think this was probably announced beforehand, but you're getting Ghost of Tsushima movie with the director of I think the John Wick movies,
Mhm.
and a Ghost of Tsushima anime done by Aniplex. So that's like four solid, like movie properties being based off of a lot of properties being based off of stuff that Sony and PlayStation own, right?
Yeah, and like I said, it's a very interesting time and selection, and it's one that like I get it, because if you're Sony, you're gonna bank on that thing you have. You're gonna make a movie based on this cool video game. Is it a little early for it? Probably, though. They're like for the Ghost of Tsushima thing. I'm pretty sure they're gonna time that real close to Ghost of Yotai.
Yeah. So I
Or
mean,
was it Yotai? I'm mispronouncing it
I
again.
mean, yeah, because I know there was mention of the anime being released around 2027.
Mhm.
So I mean, I'm pretty sure that game comes out during that time. So I mean, it probably would be an interesting bridge. Um, but I do find it interesting too, because I mean, you can also see it as sort of like the continual rise of video game adaptations. Because
Yeah.
obviously, I think Sonic the Hedgehog, the Mario movie, are sort of the two standouts.
Oh
Like,
yeah, no. Sonic 3 was is like held to be the best of the three.
I mean, with good reason, obviously.
Yeah.
But I guess to make the main point, obviously, right, is that we are now Hollywood is now seeing that video game adaptations can be made and be made well. Granted, my opinion on the Sonic franchise as a whole is kind of it's mid, but it's serviceable, right? It does the job, and that's all you need of it, right? Um, and obviously, the Mario movie worked definitely in part because Nintendo was heavily involved and they stuck very close to the source material, even if some people were a bit iffy on, say, music selection, like
Mm.
pop music and stuff like that. But main point was that people enjoyed the Mario movie and it worked, right? It's getting a sequel, and they're trusting Illumination with a Legend of Zelda movie, which I'm a bit
Was it
hesitant.
Illumination? I thought it was a different studio.
Was it?
I'm pretty sure because the Zelda movie is supposed to be live action.
What? Okay, okay. No, that's what I was remembering because I think it was supposed to be live action, which I was a bit hesitant on because it's like, yeah, but it's like you can make Zelda work as an animated movie, and I think that works as an animated movie probably better.
Well, considering how I think I remember one of the big stories about that was the director wanted it to be like he's like being heavily inspired by like Miyazaki films, and I'm like,
Hmm.
you mean the animated movies?
Yeah, but anyways, like that sort of approach is being seen, and obviously Sony. I mean, it has tipped its toes in making movies out of its games. Obviously, the Uncharted movie with Tom Holland, which I think did okay, right?
I think it did okay. I didn't really
Um,
watch it. I wasn't that big of an Uncharted person, and it was one of those things. I'm like, this seems like something that everyone just kind of wanted to do. I mean like, oh yeah, this is a thing.
yeah, and I mean, the thing about it too is I think some people were like, you kind of had a guy who could be the perfect Nathan Drake, Nathan Fillion, but you're a bit couple years too late to
Yeah,
do that, right?
you're a little too late. Kind of the same as the Halo show. You're a little too late.
Yeah. I mean, heck. I guess technically Gran Turismo got a movie, but it was more about the real story of a guy who played Gran Turismo and won a contest to be an actual like driver.
Whatever happened to that guy?
I don't know. I think he did all right for himself.
Oh,
I don't
okay.
know.
I don't know.
I'm not gonna look into it.
Yeah.
I'm too lazy to look into the story of that one guy.
Also, you want to be optimistic that he turned out alright.
I mean, yeah,
I
I
hope he
guess.
turned out alright.
Yeah.
I think you forgot Ratchet and Clank.
Yes, that is true. Ratchet and
We
Clank.
saw that movie.
Yeah, which it was a serviceable movie.
It was fine.
But it felt more like a vehicle for the remake. Remember they made a remake, which I
Yeah.
believe used most of its cutscenes were just of the movie itself.
Yeah, because there was that. I always remember finding out that there was a character that was voiced by Sylvester Stallone, right?
Yeah,
And he's just kind of there, but he's like a major thing in the game.
yeah.
Like that exact game, like he's actually like a boss or something. I'm like, where was that? It was a fine movie. It wasn't bad. It was just like if you're someone who at first was like just turned the cutscenes into a movie, yeah, that's what the movie got.
Yeah, I was about to say like, some people out on the internet were just like, why don't we just take the cutscenes from the video games and just turn it into a movie? And it's like, I think that's what you get, kind of that, which is like okay,
Well,
but
to be fair, I feel like when they say that, they didn't have the idea it'd be like that, you know?
yeah,
Like,
I get what you mean. I
it,
get what you
like,
mean.
like uh, it's the Zack Snyder shot for shot of the comic kind of thing.
Hmm.
I think that's what people wanted, not the actual like cutscenes that you can just watch on YouTube.
But yeah, I mean, also now that I think about it too, because there was the rumor or like a planned. Now you bring up Ratchet and Clank. There was a planned Sly Cooper movie, but it never got made, right? Because I think
Right.
because we even got like an animated teaser way back, and it looked pretty solid, but for whatever reason, just never came to pass. Obviously, I think we're also sort of ignoring the big elephant in the room of hey, the Last of Us TV show did great. It's gonna get its second season soon, so
Yeah.
that's a you know more uh, fuel for the fire for Sony to just look at their games and just go, yeah, we can turn movies into these things or TV shows. That can get us some money. Although I feel like HBO definitely had a more hand in making it because obviously the Horizon Zero Dawn, Ghosts of Tsushima, and Helldivers are going to be made by Sony Pictures themselves,
Hmm.
basically. So a bit of a difference, right?
I was gonna say, there. I could have sworn Neil Druckmann was heavily involved in that show.
I believe he was also. I think he was also involved. I don't know if he wrote any episodes, but he was also involved with
Hmm.
making that show.
Yeah. Yeah, but it's in my opinion, they're going in a little too hard right now. Like, okay, when they first announced it, you and I were talking about, specifically Helldivers. It's like, really, Helldivers?
Yeah, it's definitely an interesting one. Because obviously, if you haven't played Helldivers, it is basically like a multiplayer game where you are part of Super Earth. Hunting down these giant bugs and various other things, protecting the Earth's colonies and stuff.
For democracy.
Yeah. And if you once you take a good look at it, right, you kind
Mm.
of just make it go, Starship Troopers. That's Starship Troopers.
Yeah,
That's Starship Troopers as a game. So
very much in its DNA.
yeah, so I mean, the fact that they are taking Helldivers 2 and just going, we can make a movie out of that. Let's do that, and it's like, yeah, but aren't you just making another Starship Troopers at that point? Because it's basically what you're doing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, don't get me wrong, I love the original, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it's just one of those things of like, we're kind of going in like a bit of a circle here, right?
Yeah, it's an Ouroboros. It's a
Yeah,
snake eating itself.
yeah, because it's like Starship Troopers, people like the movie, so and then
No one talks about the book.
yeah, and then Helldivers, it's greatly inspired homage to Starship Troopers in terms of how the aesthetics and world building and stuff, and now well, it's like let's turn that into a movie, which is just like I feel like it's just gonna be Starship Troopers, but something you find at a discount. You know, like like a bargain bin version of Starship Troopers. Not to say that it's going to be bad. We don't know much about it. It just started, pre-production or whatever. But still, it's just kind of one of those things where I'm looking at it and it's just like, it's one of those things where you look at it, like say like Metroid, right?
Yeah.
Like Metroid, people like want a Metroid movie, but when you boil it down, it's one lady fighting aliens in space, and it's
Mm.
like that's Alien. That's the movie Alien. And I'm pretty sure the developers at Nintendo were inspired a bit by the movie Alien. So it's kind of like another Ouroboros. Although, obviously,
There's a level of differences, but I get a bit. You're kind of simplifying it to to the bare bones, but I get what you're saying.
yeah. I mean, it's a similar thing as to why some people will say, "Oh, why don't they make a GTA movie or a Red Redemption movie?" And it's
Hmm.
like those games take a lot from media already,
Yeah.
so it's kind of like you're just regurgitating something, right?
Yeah. It's everything is inspired by some level of something. The Predator was the basis for the elites in Halo.
Mm-hmm.
Like that was like the main thing. Like they go invisible. They're like these noble, honorable, hunters kind of stuff. Kind of like how the elites are like noble warrior race.
Yeah.
Like there's a lot of that, and with Helldivers, I think it's not to say I don't think it'd be a bad idea, but you and this is where I'm like, you can tell that the people in charge don't tend to play video games, right? Because Helldivers kind of went down real fast.
Well, I mean, it's still popular though.
It's still
That's the
popular, yes, but it died down fast. Now, not because of the bad game, but because the service kind of went weird. It became weird.
Yeah, there was the controversy about like the PSN like accounts or whatever, and that
Hmm.
a lot of countries don't have it, especially because if you're playing on PC or whatever. But you know, besides all that,
Yeah, because we also got to think about general audience kind of stuff.
yeah, like yeah, I don't know. I think at the end of the day, like I think that's something that sometimes happens with video game adaptations as well. Is that like you mentioned with Halo, right? Where
Hmm.
it's like a bit too late to jump on the Halo train. Like a Halo movie or TV show would have been cool back in 2007 or 2008, right at the peak of like Halo popularity, right? Halo 3 just came out, you're still in a buzz of Halo stuff, right? That would have been a neat time, and they did plan to do that, right? With
Yeah,
what was his name, Blomkamp, right?
yeah. Blomkamp was supposed to be doing the film. Like they jumped around so often because it was Peter Jackson, then Neil Blomkamp. Spielberg was someone somewhere in the middle.
Yeah, and then it turned to him being an executive producer for a Halo TV show that was announced in 2012, 2013 that was going to be on the Xbox One. Remember that whole freaking press
I
conference?
legit. What is it? Was Nightfall? That's the one, right? The one with
Halo Nightfall with
Luke Cage.
yeah, the actor for Luke Cage. It was supposed
Yeah.
that was announced.
That was that Ridley Scott?
Ridley Scott, yes, I believe. I believe he produced it. I don't know if he directed
I
it.
don't think he would. He's too
Um,
high. He's too. What's the word I'm looking for?
well, are you gonna say too prestige, too highbrow, too?
More, yes, but more in like I would never do this.
You say that, but he made Prometheus and
Okay, that's fair.
what I'm saying is that a lot of his Alien movies have not panned out that well.
No, no, no,
So he's not above. I think schlock is what I think.
no. He's above schlock. He's above like being reasonable. I guess is the right word.
Mm. But yeah, but yeah, no, to that point of like, yeah, probably a Helldivers. Well, to be fair though, I think what was it? Helldivers came out in 2023, right?
Mhm.
So it would have been a very hard way of turning a movie around, but at the same time, I think I get what you mean by that.
Mhm.
Where it's like if this is based off a multiplayer online game, and like that, unless you're like a Fortnite that can sustain that popularity over a long period of time, it'll eventually will die down. So it's kind of hard to time making a movie based off of that
Yeah.
to get that popularity still that's still
Mhm.
there.
I mean, yeah. So it's one of these like we kind of what Helldivers is a wait and see. I mean, the other games that are being like Horizon, that one I always thought was really interesting because that one's always been talked about, and now they're doing it, and yet I'm not looking forward to that.
Yeah, there's a sense of a lot of people just being not that interested in it.
And it's not a bad game.
No, I don't think. Yeah, no. As far as I haven't played any of the Horizon games.
Neither have I, but from everything I've heard, it's not a bad game.
They are solid open world RPGs, right? With a
Mhm.
very interesting world and lore building.
Yeah.
So I truly don't think it's a bad idea to do that, especially if it was like a movie of like the before times, like how did we get to this scenario? That would
Mhm.
be kind of interesting. Um, but at the same time, it does like a good portion of the internet just kind of seems to go like, this is like, are we being punked? Is this actually popular? Like, because it feels like this is just an industry plant kind of like franchise. I mean, obviously, there's the Lego Horizon game, which I won't lie, even befuddles me because it's like,
I forgot that was a thing, dude.
did you not remember Sony just straight up like pimping it out a lot, just like, hey, Lego Horizon game, and it's like, okay, why though? Like, because it's like you get Lego games based off of Harry Potter, Star Wars, the Marvel movies, DC, right? Like big things, and it's like Lego Horizon, Zero Dawn. What? What?
Yeah,
Like,
but I feel like Lego Marvel, Lego DC, Lego Star Wars, all those make sense.
well, no, yeah, because they're big franchises, right?
Yeah, they're
That
big IPs where you can kind of want to mess around with that.
with the idea, but well, Horizon only has like two games at the time that it came out, right?
Yeah.
Like two mainline games and maybe a spinoff here or there.
Mhm.
So it yeah, I would agree. It's a bit weird to just jump in and getting a Lego Horizon game. I mean, hell, there isn't like I'm trying to think of any other franchise that's collabed with Lego before, like a Lego Transformers game or a. I mean, there was that Lego Dimensions game that was like the Toys to Life game, right, where you buy Lego sets and then you can put it into the game or something like that.
Yeah.
But which I mean, I remember that had like all the. It had Back to the Future. I think it had Wizard of Oz. It had just a bunch of stuff.
Mhm.
I remember. But it's like, like main point is that I don't. It feels weird to have like Horizon Zero Dawn being propped up this much,
Mhm.
right? When it feels like it hasn't. Like not to make again, not to say bad about the game,
No.
but I think for a lot of people on the internet,
It's like, oh yeah.
like people just sort of like, it's a fine game, but is it like good enough for a movie? I guess that's probably what a lot of people sort of feel about. Like, is it good enough for its own franchise? Like, you
You
know,
know why? It still feels like it's still young.
I mean, you're not wrong. Because the first one came out on PS4 back in like I think
Yeah.
2017, 2018.
Mhm.
Then you had the sequel,
Or
The Forbidden West, I believe
yeah, that
it was
one came
called.
out for PS5.
Yeah.
Because like what I'm saying is that with Helldivers, you can kind of do it because it's essentially just a rip of Starship Troopers. Horizon Zero Dawn is a new property. It's got its fans, very dedicated ones, without a doubt. It's now whether or not it will sustain itself with a film franchise is totally dependent on how well it's executed, and that's the real question when it comes to a lot of these video game adaptations. Because like for like Sonic and Mario, the thing that made those movies so like well loved is because you can tell it's made with love, right? The story of like how Illumination was like this close to having that scene of Luigi and Mario getting the star power and having Van Halen's jump playing is like no. That sounds like a like on if you never played Mario or don't like really like aren't that invested in Mario, like the song jump playing during that sequence sounds like a horrible idea, right? Or
Mm.
it is, or you might be indifferent because if you don't play the games or whatever. But like Like literally, you can just imagine that song playing, and it just doesn't feel as impactful as hearing the dun 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 dun
Yeah,
dun.
that
Because it's the musical
orchestral
motif. Yeah,
version.
yeah,
Yeah,
the
yeah.
musical motifs like elevate that film so much because it's like it plays well and harkens to that the love to the games
Mhm.
in the same way as like so like in Sonic 3, Live and Learn is like the big game song in Sonic Adventure 2, the game that Shadow's introduced, and it's played like throughout the movie to like to the point where like it's significant to Shadow's story.
Mhm.
So it's like I mean, like I said, well, with Horizon you could make it good. It's just like will you be able to show that love and appreciation for the game? Is the question. The thing is, again, it's still like a very early franchise. If I'm making any sense.
I mean, I guess that's always the thing with any adaptation. Like you want to have respect and for
Mm-hmm.
the source material and all that stuff. Um, I think the only it's just that obviously, I mean with with Horizon Zero Dawn, obviously it is just sort of like, is there enough base for it?
Mm-hmm.
Like, is it that popular enough to garner that success? Who knows? I mean, Ghost of Tsushima does. I think out of all of them, it does seem to be the more interesting one, especially since with the anime adaptation as well. I think that's probably the one I think most people are probably excited for, especially since Ghost of Tsushima movie has an actual director attached to it, the guy from the John Wick movies. So you're gonna get a pretty solid action movie out of it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's gonna be an interesting movie
Yeah.
and like interesting premise. Like it's gonna be I think people would really be intrigued into watching that movie. Right? It has sort of the all the hallmarks you would probably want for a movie. Interesting premise, good director. Now you just need to wait and see how the casting sort of fills itself out, and probably does not going to be a big budget expensive movie. Probably shouldn't. You get modest returns out of it. That's a success, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, no, it's going to be definitely interesting just to see how it all sort of pans out, right? Like, I mean, especially since we're talking about Sony Pictures, right?
Yeah.
Which, I mean, just to sort of bring it back around, right? Like, you know, like you mentioned earlier, right? Like, it feels like a lot of these announcements and like this hard push into adapting their video game catalog into movies is another attempt by Sony to create like a cinematic universe style like franchise that they can make money off of, right? Because
Yeah.
that's basically what they wanted to do with the. I mean, Sony's been trying to do that since Amazing Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Like they saw the writing on the wall with Marvel, right? With the Avenger movies, right? Because what was it? If I recall correctly, didn't the Amazing Spider-Man the first one came out in 2012?
It did. It came out in 2012. 2013 was the leak.
No, was
No,
it
at
the
the end,
leak?
like somewhere around that time was the leak. A year or two maybe. That's when they got like all the information about like what was it like an Aunt May movie. And granted, like looking back at it now, those are always like tentative.
I mean,
They didn't mean they were gonna do it, but that you can tell that they were scratching really hard to make any kind of movie involving not involving Spider-Man.
well, I mean, yeah, that was. I want to say that might have been 2011 actually, because if I recall correctly, the Sony email hack happened because they were making that movie,
The interview.
The Interview, which is like about Seth Rogen and
Yeah,
James
yeah,
Franco interviewing Kim Jong Un or whatever, and then North Korean hackers got pissed. They hacked Sony, leaked their emails. I mean, that's where we also learned about shit like a Ghostbusters, like cinematic universe, like a Slimer movie, and stuff like that.
could have been peak.
I mean, it would have been linked to the 2016 Ghostbusters movie though.
Could have been.
Actually, was it? No, I think actually, you know what? It might have been 2014. Now that I think about
Yeah.
it, because the Ghostbusters remake didn't come out until 2016.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's like probably around that time. But anyways, yeah, no, they were talking about like I think there was gonna be a Silver Sable Black Cat movie. Like there was a lot of interesting like things, like you said, like an Aunt May movie where she's like a spy in World War II or some shit like that,
Yeah.
which is like okay.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah, but
Which,
I mean,
yeah, no, it's like I said, those were always tentative. They didn't mean they were actually gonna do it.
but they were ideas that they were just throwing darts at the wall and just being like, would that be a good idea? I mean,
I mean, I watched that. I'm just saying.
it's like, I mean, you put it on, write it down, write it down.
Write it down. Write it down.
That's not bad. That's not bad. And obviously, with the fallout of the Amazing Spider-Man movies, that got canned,
Mm-hmm.
right? Laying the work back with Marvel for the Tom Holland movies. And then, but Sony still wanted a piece of the pie anyway. That's
Yeah.
how we got like the villain universe is probably what I'm gonna call it. There is no official name, I'm guessing, right?
There probably is, but do you really care?
No, because it probably sounds really dumb.
Yeah.
But yeah, Venom was a big hit. That was like, clearly these work. Let's make it work. And it's like they forget that Venom is a popular character anyway, and people will watch a Venom movie no matter what.
People really wanted Venom in that third Spider-Man movie.
Uh,
It was even against Sam Raimi's wishes.
well, I mean, yeah, the producers are like, we gotta put Venom in, man. He's like the big guy, and it's like, I don't really care for Venom actually. It's like, shut up. You put Venom in this movie now, even if it ruins the narrative. Like, I
Hey,
mean,
he made it work though. He made it work.
he made it work for what it was, but I mean, here's the thing: would you rather prefer to have the movie just based between Sandman and Harry Osborn as villains than just horning Venom?
You speak truth, but I don't want to admit it.
I'm just saying. Even though people's opinions of Spider-Man 3 have sort of turned around being like, it's actually pretty all right. It's
Yeah.
not the worst thing ever,
No,
right? But even still, it's like it could have been better.
it could have been better. No. Yeah, but no, it's one of those things where again, like Sony, it just sounds like everything like Sony has been doing and will maybe continue to do. Well, and like these video game adaptation films could be good because like Until Dawn is getting a movie. Yes, it's gonna be apparently different from the actual game, which I'm like, that'd be a good idea because the thing about that game was is how interactive it was, and
No, yeah, it was very cinematic, but it's like an interactive movie.
yeah, FMB as you say.
Yeah, I guess if you want to talk about that whole thing. But
Yeah.
anyways, you know, yeah, it is interesting because I think that Until Dawn movie actually comes out this year.
I have not heard anything about. Okay, sure.
But yeah, that's another, I guess technically Sony property, right? But they're doing something interesting with it. Don't know how well it will succeed, but I mean, it's always
the only one of their games that I feel. I mean, I heard that all the other games were pretty good, but it didn't hit. Like everyone's still onto that one. They haven't played the other games whose names I'm forgetting, but I know they're
forgettable.
Yeah, they're good but forgettable, right? Well, because like I think the thing about the Until Dawn was that it was so realistic, and it was like such a good horror game, and like you really tried hard to save everyone.
Or if you're a psychopath, get everybody killed.
His route.
I mean, it's always fun, right?
Yeah. Yeah. No. But like I can totally see them making that movie. It's essentially going to be a horror movie. Because that's kind of what it is. Will it be good? Again, I can't tell. But let's just say that let's. I mean, I hope Sony pulls it off. Well, kind of not really. But more like I'm hoping some of these turn out to be well. My best guess is the Ghost of Tsushima.
I mean, yeah. You know, it is going to be interesting to see. I'm more intrigued. I just kind of want to just see what happens.
Yeah.
I'm not really caring if it turns out well or if it turns out poorly. I mean, if anything, I'm kind of hoping it does turn out well, just because it's like it would be neat to see more studios take on video game adaptations.
Seriously, this time.
Yeah, you know. I mean, clearly we've had successes. The Last of Us TV show, obviously Sonic movies and the Mario movie, right? So it's like it seems like we are turning that corner when it comes to video game movies, and it just feels like I guess the main concern for some people is like it's like that these movies are being done as just cash grabs.
Mm-hmm.
So the quality might not be as great as you want it to be. but let's hope it's not that. Right?
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I guess that's really that's about it. I guess. I mean,
Mhm.
other than the fact of do you think possibly this somehow leads into a PlayStation's All Stars Battle Royale movie coming out one day?
No.
You sure?
God no.
I mean,
If people are tired of like multiversal crossover stuff with Marvel, they're gonna get tired of that real quick.
but it would. But here's, I mean, it's a bit different though because it's video games.
No,
Do
it's
you not
not.
want to see Tom Holland as Nathan Drake having to fight the God of War, Kratos?
No. Take it from the guy who likes dumb stuff. No.
All I'm saying is that the only way to save the Marvel
I'm actually
Cinematic.
surprised they did not. They did not announce a God of War anything.
That's actually true. Now that I think about it, God of War is probably one of the more popular PlayStation.
Especially now after the recent games.
Yeah, with his Norse Adventures. Because actually, no, aren't they making it? I could have sworn they're making a show, aren't they?
Are they?
I swear to God, I think they're making a show on Amazon. Hold on.
I think you're right. If not, it's probably like that part of that secret level thing.
No, yeah, it's getting a TV show.
Okay, I mean that makes a little more sense. But is it gonna be based on the Viking adventures or including the?
I just judging by, I think it might be by the Viking. Like his Norse
Mm,
Adventures. I think if
yeah,
I'm reading the. Well, I'm not sure.
because it looks like more like the plot for the game. It's in development. We'll say that.
Yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
But anyways, I think that's probably about all we have, right?
I mean that's most of what I can say. We're just gonna have to wait and see. Um, I mean if none of these turn out well, just put them in the secret level episode. Something that Halo didn't do.
Well, I think it was because they wanted it to be a crossover with Doom, and
As cool as that sounds,
I mean, yeah, as cool as it sounds like it, I don't know, it's a bit odd, right?
so they said no. I think
Yeah.
it's because it was still too early for them to realize how cool it would have been, right?
I mean, I don't know. I don't like. Weirdly enough, I feel like it's just one of those like
Missed opportunities.
yeah, like it just I don't know what the thought process was of like is Halo 2 sacred for crossovers, but then I remember, wait, isn't the Arbiter and Killer Instinct and way, actually way beyond that, wasn't there a fucking Spartan in
It was at
Dead or
the
Alive
yeah, it was
4 or
the like
whatever?
yeah, I think it was like 4 or 5, but it wasn't Chief. It was like a female Spartan.
Yeah, but my main point being
Yeah,
is that they had a crossover with Dead or Alive, you know, which I mean I'm not trying to diss Dead or Alive or anything,
or
but
Doom.
but it's like
Dead
that's
or Alive.
yeah the game that like revolutionizes jiggle physics. So I mean I don't know, it's a
I still say I think it might have been just a little too early for them to be fully committed to the idea because a lot of people latched onto that, but didn't latch onto the part of that same interview where they also said they tried to get a Half Life episode going, but they said nah as well. Because I'm like, hold up, we could have gotten Half Life.
Nah, Gabe Newell doesn't trust anybody with Half Life, man. Not even Valve itself. But yeah, no, I think that's about it, right? Nothing
Yeah, I
else.
think that's about it. That's a great start for the first year, the first episode of the year. And hopefully we'll have more to come. We'll keep on checking on our posts and stuff like that. I'm definitely gonna do a better job of that one. But yeah, no, if you enjoyed what you heard, be sure to follow us on all social media: Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. Most active on Instagram. There you'll find a link to all the podcast sites we're officially part of, like Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Pandora, and all the like. And a link to the YouTube for all you audio listeners out there who want to put a face to the voice. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. And any form of support, we have a Patreon. And yeah, it's been me, your boy Eli.
Me, Joe.
And we're gonna have to be back. It's been a while. We're here. Anyways, you guys have a good one. Peace.